Chapter 41. 41. Mission to investigate the enemy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 41. Mission to investigate the enemy. Translator. Henyi Translations Editor. Henyi Translations. Let's go to. After Shen Daoming left, Shen Ruiyan turned to look at Jiang Qingxian. Jiang Qingxian nodded. Soon, the two of them headed in the direction of Thousand Willow Market. As they approached the Thousand Willow Market, Jiang Qingxian couldn't help but look at Shen Ruiyan. Elder Ruiyan, can you tell me in detail what kind of people Ancestor Yuanlong and Ancestor Mengxue are? Shen Ruiyan knew why Jiang Qingxian asked this. She thought for a moment before answering. As a junior, one can't comment on the two ancestors' character. However, as far as one know, they care deeply about the family. One know that their greatest wish is to see the Shen immortal family return to its former glory. Unfortunately, the development of the Shen immortal family over the years. At this point, Shen Ruiyan shook her head with a sigh and continued, actually, one don't have much to say about Ancestor Yuanlong. On the other hand, one heard that Ancestor Mengxue cultivated a divination technique in her early years. It's called the Heavenly Secret Calculation Technique. With this calculation method, Ancestor Mengxue has helped the Ganyang sect eliminate many great enemies, including a golden core demonic cultivator. It's also because of this that her status in the Ganyang sect is very special. Even the other two golden core supreme elders are said to be very respectful to her. This is definitely not only because she is the Tao companion of Immortal Pelong. The Immortal Pelong Shen Ruiyan was referring to was Shen Mengxue's Tao companion and one of the three golden core supreme elders of the Ganyang sect. His name was Zheng Pelong, and he was known as Immortal Pelong. However, I heard that every time Ancestor Mengxue uses that calculation technique, it will consume a lot of her lifespan. Shen Ruiyan couldn't help but look worried. It's also because of this that she, who is less than 200 years old, already has a head full of white hair. One had to know that the lifespan of Violet Palace realm cultivators could reach 400 years. With some life-extending spiritual items, it would not be a problem for them to live to 500 years old. However, Shen Mengxue was not even 200 years old, but she already had a head full of white hair. This was obviously because her lifespan had been severely depleted. In such a situation, even those life-prolonging spiritual items would probably not be of much help to her. The reason why they treated you like that. At this moment, Shen Ruiyan looked deeply into Jiang Qingxian's eyes and said slowly, I'm afraid Ancestor Mengxue has seen something on you. Ancestor Yuanlong was probably asked to take care of you by Ancestor Mengxue. You don't have to worry too much. I can tell that they're expressing goodwill to you and have no intention of harming you. As they spoke, the two of them had already arrived at their destination, Thousand Willow Market. However, Jiang Qingxian had a hard time calming himself down. From Shen Ruiyan's words just now, it was obvious that Ancestor Mengxue, who cultivated Heavenly Secret Calculation Technique, saw something on him. That was why she treated him differently. What exactly had she seen? Did she discover that he had the help of a cheat system? As soon as this possibility appeared, Jiang Qingxian denied it. If Ancestor Mengxue really discovered this secret, her attitude towards him would definitely not be so nice. She would not let him leave the Shen immortal family so easily. Although he did not want to think badly of people, Jiang Qingxian knew how greedy people could be. He believed that no one could resist the temptation to snatch away the system from him. From the looks of it, there should be some other reason why Ancestor Mengxue had such a special attitude towards him. At the thought of this, Jiang Qingxian turned to look at Shen Ruiyan beside him and made eye contact. Shen Ruiyan smiled at him and changed the topic. Elder Jiang, how about you and I split up here to search for the remaining demonic cultivators and gather later? As she spoke, dozens of streaks of light flew over. When they approached, it turned out that these people were all cultivators of the Shen immortal family. A middle-aged cultivator at the 9th level of Qi refinement realm stepped forward and bowed. Greetings, elders. Clearly, before this, these cultivators had already been informed by the family of their arrival. Shenruyan nodded at them and asked, "How's the situation now? Did you find any traces of demonic cultivators?" The middle-aged cultivator shook his head and said with a troubled expression, "So far, we haven't found any demonic cultivators. It's as if those people have all disappeared after that incident." Shenruyan narrowed her beautiful eyes and said flatly, "Just because you can't find them doesn't mean that they are gone. As long as they are still in Flatland County, they will leave traces." With that, she turned to look at Jiang Qingxian. "Elder Jiang, let's each bring some people to search the surroundings. I don't believe that those rats can keep hiding like that." Jiang Qingxian had no objections to this idea. He immediately nodded. Soon, he and Shenruyan each brought some people and began to search the Thousand Willow Market. Coincidentally, the middle-aged cultivator at the 9th level of Qi Refinement Realm was assigned to his team. Including him, there were about 20 to 30 people in Jiang Qingxuan's team. After getting to know each other briefly, Jiang Qingxian learned that this middle-aged cultivator was called Tong Baiyuan. He was actually originally a servant of the Shen family. Later on, his spiritual root was tested and he passed the test on the conscience platform. Only then was he taught the immortal technique. This was something Jiang Qingxian did not expect. As long as you could pass the test, it was not impossible to be a cultivator of the Shen immortal family even if you were just a servant. It now made sense why the Shen immortal family could obtain so many loyal cultivators. Pulling back his wandering mind, Jiang Qingxian said to Tong Baiyuan and the others, "Everyone, continue searching separately. Remember to split into groups. Once you find anything, don't act rashly. Your safety is the most important." Receiving the order, Tong Baiyuan and the others immediately bowed and nodded. Soon, dozens of people dispersed. On Jiang Qingxuan's side, like everyone else, he kept using his divine sense to investigate his surroundings. However, at this moment, the system's voice suddenly sounded in his mind. Ding! An achievement mission has been issued. Host, please complete 100 investigations of the enemy. Current progress. 1%. Chapter 42. 42, The Spirit Eye of Insight, 1, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 42. The Spirit Eye of Insight, 1, Translator. Henyi Translations Editor. Henyi Translations. Jiang Qingxian was caught off guard. Obviously, he did not expect the system to give him such a mission at this time. However, this was just right. He immediately began to search the Thousand Willow Market according to his OVWI method. Soon, his mission progress began to increase. 5%, 8%, 14%, 21%. 3 days later. When the mission progress reached 100%, the system's voice sounded in his mind. "Congratulations, host. You have achieved 100 investigations of the enemy and obtained the Spirit Eye of Insight." The Spirit Eye of Insight. It can allow you to see through disguise techniques that exceed your current cultivation level. It can also allow you to break various illusions and see the reality. At this moment, Jiang Qingxian felt a numbing itch in his eyes, accompanied by a faint burning pain. Fortunately, this did not last long. After about 10 minutes, everything returned to normal. However, Jiang Qingxian knew that his eyes were different from before. He tried to activate the Spirit Eye of Insight. A layer of hazy green light immediately appeared in his eyes. After that, he could see many light spots. The light spots represented the cultivators of the Shen immortal family who were searching for demonic cultivators everywhere. In addition, there were also traces of white spiritual qi flowing, as well as black qi that was flickering and about to dissipate. Wait! Suddenly, Jiang Qingxian saw a few illusory transparent figures. Countless twisted and crazy malicious ghosts were circling around them. Jiang Qingxian frowned deeply and his eyes narrowed. he immediately sent a message to Shenrian. As for himself, he quietly approached the illusory transparent figures. A moment later, Shenrian appeared beside Jiang Qingxian. She sent a voice transmission to Jiang Qingxian. Elder Jiang, you said that you found traces of demonic cultivators. Jiang Qingxian nodded and replied with a voice transmission. They are in front of us, not far away. They seem to have something on them that can isolate our divine senses. Let's attack together. We should be able to take them down. At the same time, under the shade of a tree not far from Jiang Qingxian and Shenrian, a few demonic cultivators were talking to each other. One of the demonic cultivators with a hooked nose said, "How many spirit stones do you have? Take them all out. One think you should be aware of our current situation. Only by avoiding the detection of the Shen immoral family this time can we escape. If we want to avoid being detected, we have to ensure that the level 2 invisible array disk in my hand doesn't stop. Otherwise, once our whereabouts are exposed, just the 2 Foundation establishment cultivators in front of us are enough to wipe us out." Hearing his words, the few demonic cultivators could not help but look at each other. Although demonic cultivators often stabbed and schemed against each other, at this moment, these people clearly knew that if they did not team up, they had no chance of escaping alive. After figuring this out, they took out spirit stones from their bodies and handed them to the hook-nosed demonic cultivator. One of the coquettish female demonic cultivators chuckled. "Brother Cui, whether one can escape this calamity or not will all depend on you. If one can escape this calamity, one will definitely not forget to reward you." As she spoke, she kept squirming her body. When the hook-nosed demonic cultivator called Brother Cui heard this, a glint flashed across his eyes, and his eyes were filled with lust. He said with an evil smile, "As long as I'm alive, you will protect you. After this crisis is over, Wu Sanyang, follow me back to the White Skeleton Mountain." At this moment, an extremely dazzling lightning bolt suddenly appeared in their vision, causing the expressions of the few hidden demonic cultivators to change drastically. How come? Boom! Before they could react, the lightning bolt tore open the array formation they were hiding in. Immediately after, a white pillar of light with extreme coldness crushed down on these demonic cultivators. Crack, crack, crack. The bodies of these demonic cultivators were immediately covered by a layer of ice. Then, a flying sword wrapped in purple flames and a flying sword emitting 7 colors swept past the heads of the hook-nosed demonic cultivator as well as the others. With their eyes wide open, they died without knowing how they were discovered. One had to know that the invisibility array disk in the hook-nosed demonic cultivator's hand could help them hide from the detection of a 9th-level Foundation establishment realm cultivator. What exactly was going on? Unfortunately, they were destined to not get an answer. Whoosh, however, at this moment, a large amount of blood mist suddenly rose from a figure's body. Then, like a ghost, she flashed dozens of miles away in the blink of an eye. It was the coquettish female demonic cultivator, Wu Sanyang. And the escape technique she used was called the blood shadow escape. She used more than 70% of her blood to temporarily bring her escape speed to that of the late-stage Foundation establishment realm cultivator. It was very difficult for ordinary late-stage Foundation establishment realm cultivators to catch up. With Jiang Qingxian and Shenrian's current speed, they naturally couldn't catch up. This made Shenrian's pretty face turn very ugly. Damn it! She actually escaped. However, Jiang Qingxian smiled and said, "Don't worry, she won't be able to run far. One don't believe that the forbidden technique that burns her life can last forever." As he spoke, the green light in Jiang Qingxuan's eyes lit up again. He took Shenrian and followed behind Wu Sanyang slowly. However, because Wu Sanyang was too fast, they soon lost track of her. Wu Sanyang, who had fled hundreds of kilometers in one go, heaved a sigh of relief when she sensed that Jiang Qingxian and Shenrian's auras were gone. Then, a look of resentment appeared on her face. Damn cultivators of the Shen family, just you wait. When one recover from my injuries, 1 foot 11 inches definitely vent my anger on the mortals under your city. As she spoke, she had already cast a camouflage spell to hide herself. Then, she took out a handful of medicinal pills and swallowed them without hesitation. After doing all this, she took another deep breath and continued to fly into the distance. She only stopped when she found a hidden cave to hide in. She believed that this time, she had successfully shaken off the 2 people behind her. Humph. You put me in such a miserable situation. This matter is not over. One will make you pay. Chapter 43. 43, Spirit Eye of Insight, 2, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 43. Spirit Eye of Insight, 2, Translator. Henyi Translations Editor. Henyi Translations. Just as she began to heal herself and suppress the backlash of the forbidden technique, Jiang Qingxian was leading Shen Ruiyan towards the cave where Wu Sanyang was hiding. Elder Jiang, are you still able to determine the location of that demonic woman? In the air, Shen Ruiyan asked Jiang Qingxian. The hazy green light in Jiang Qingxian's eyes did not go out. He smiled and nodded at Shen Ruiyan. Don't worry. I've already seen where she's hiding. If I'm not wrong, she should be trying her best to suppress the backlash of the forbidden technique. In a while, we only need to attack together to get rid of the last rat. As they spoke, the 2 of them quickly approached the place where Wu Sanyang was hiding. Wu Sanyang, who was suppressing the backlash of the blood shadow escape, felt uneasy for no reason. Agitated, she actually spat out a large mouthful of blood. Damn it! What the hell was going on? Could it be that the 2 of them had caught up? How was this possible? Just as this thought flashed through her mind, the cave she was in suddenly exploded with a bang. Immediately after, a seal with lightning and a flying sword with purple flames suddenly flew towards her. You! How could you find me? Wu Sanyang was shocked. She could not figure out how these 2 people found her. She had clearly shaken the 2 of them off, but in the end. Without any time to think, Wu Sanyang immediately took out a blood-colored scimitar. The scimitar emitted a demonic aura. As soon as it appeared, the surrounding light was dyed dark red. However, in the face of Jiang Qingxuan's purple flame sword and Shen Ruiyan's lightning seal, her demonic Dharma artifact was useless. What followed was a series of banging and booming. Countless lightning bolts landed on the blood-colored scimitar, immediately dissipating the blood on the surface. The purple flame sword turned into a purple light. With a whoosh, it directly swept past Wu Sanyang's head, instantly burning her beautiful head into charcoal. From then on, the 4 Foundation establishment demonic cultivators hidden in the 1,000 Willow Market all died. The reason they could have done this with ease was all thanks to Jiang Qingxuan's Spirit Eye of Insight. Of course. This was also due to the fact that the 4 Foundation establishment demonic cultivators were already injured. However, no matter what, with Jiang Qingxian and Shen Ruiyan's cultivation levels, it was considered a rather successful operation to be able to deal with the 4 Foundation establishment demonic cultivators hiding here. Putting away Wu Sanyang's storage bag, Shen Ruiyan couldn't help but look at Jiang Qingxian in surprise. Elder Jiang, what ability was that just now? You could actually locate her hiding place. Jiang Qingxian felt a sting in his eyes. This made him realize that his Spirit Eye of Insight could not be activated indefinitely. He smiled and said honestly, actually, it's nothing. It's just an innate ability of mine that can track people down. Innate ability. Shen Ruiyan was obviously surprised again. She knew that some people were indeed born with some extraordinary abilities that were comparable to the endowed powerful abilities of some demon beasts. She did not expect Jiang Qingxian to be endowed with such an ability. Thinking of this, Shen Ruiyan wanted to say something but hesitated. Seeing that she was holding back, Jiang Qingxian said with a smile, Elder Ruiyan, do you want me to go elsewhere and help find traces of those demonic cultivators? Shenrian nodded and said, that's right. I do have this thought. At this point, Shenrian paused for a moment before continuing, of course, if you don't want to, I can understand. I won't force you. After all, if too many people know about your ability, it will definitely be disadvantageous to you. To be honest, if possible, Jiang Qingxian naturally did not want to attract too much attention. However, the problem was that he had unknowingly been pulled into an ongoing vortex in the cultivation world. From the moment he killed the two Foundation establishment demonic cultivators, Jiang Qingxian knew that it would probably be very difficult for him to stay out of trouble in the future. Most importantly, there were only 20 years left before the Demon Beast riot broke out. At that time, even if he wanted to stay out of trouble, he couldn't. The best thing to do to survive under that circumstance was to rely on a certain power. In the current cultivation world of the Yun nation, there seemed to be no power more suitable for him than the Shen immortal family. Therefore, when he heard Shenrian's words, he did not ponder much and almost immediately nodded at her with a smile. I can do that, but I still hope that everyone can keep my innate ability a secret for me for the time being. A smile appeared on Shenrian's face. That's not a problem. I'll tell my brother later and get him to ask everyone to swear not to reveal the secret about your innate ability. In addition, you can't use that ability all the time, right? As the biological sister of the head of the Shen immortal family, Shenrian was not ignorant of innate abilities like Jiang Qingxuan's. As far as she knew, many cultivators with innate abilities could not maintain the activation of their innate abilities for a long period of time. Indeed. Jiang Qingxian nodded. After using this ability once, I need to rest for about 1 to 2 days before I can continue to use it. Otherwise, it will cause extremely serious damage to my eyes. Alright, in 2 days, let's go to see my brother. After dealing with the demonic cultivators on my brother's cider, we'll go to a few other places to investigate. At that time, I'll get my brother to tell everyone to keep it a secret. You don't have to worry. It had to be said that Shenrian had considered everything thoroughly. Just like that. 2 days later, Jiang Qingxian and Shenrian arrived at the search area that Shen Daoming was currently in charge of. Seeing Jiang Qingxian and Shenrian come to him together, Shen Daoming was obviously surprised. He could not help but look at the two of them and say, Elder Jiang, Ruyan, why are you here? This is... Before he could finish, Shenrian threw a few storage bags at him. This made Shen Daoming's eyes widen in shock. Chapter 44. 44. Distributing the spoils. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 44. Distributing the spoils. Translator. Henyi Translations Editor. Henyi Translations. You dealt with the demonic cultivators on your side. Shen Daoming was a little surprised. He had already recognized that the Dharma artifacts in the storage bags that Shenrian had thrown to him were used by Wu Sanyang and the other demonic cultivators. Yeah. Shenrian nodded with a smile. Speaking of which, this is all thanks to Elder Jiang. Elder Jiang. Shen Daoming looked at Jiang Qingxian in surprise. That's right. Shenrian nodded again. Then, she told Shen Daoming about Jiang Qingxuan's innate ability. When Shen Daoming heard this, he could not help but feel even more shocked. He really did not expect Jiang Qingxian to have such a talent. This was very useful for them to search for the whereabouts of the remaining demonic cultivators. At this moment, Shenrian continued, however, I hope that you and everyone else can keep this a secret for Elder Jiang. As the head of the Shen immortal family, Shen Daoming immediately understood Shenrian's intentions and nodded in agreement. Indeed, Elder Jiang's ability is extraordinary. It's indeed not good for too many people to know. With that, Shen Daoming couldn't help but look at Jiang Qingxian. Elder Jiang, leave this to me. I'll tell everyone about this later. Other than the elders, I guarantee that no one else will know. Then I'll have to trouble you, family head. Jiang Qingxian smiled and nodded. Next, Jiang Qingxian cooperated with Shen Daoming and Shen Ruyan to start searching for demonic cultivators who might be hiding in this area. Several hours later, a 5th-level Foundation Establishment Realm demonic cultivator and a few Qi Refinement Realm demonic cultivators were killed by Shen Daoming on the spot. After that, the 3 of them went to other places. About 10 days later, almost all the remaining demonic cultivators in the territory of the Shen immortal family were wiped out. When the group returned to the main hall on the main peak of Splendid Jade Mountain, there were about 10 to 20 storage bags in front of them. They were all from those demonic cultivators. At this moment, Shen Daoming, who was sitting at the head of the table, looked at everyone and smiled. Everyone, after this operation, we should have already cleaned up all the demonic cultivators hiding in our territory. It's all thanks to Elder Jiang that we were able to be so efficient. Everyone, do you have anything to say? Hearing Shen Daoming's words, everyone nodded in agreement. Indeed. Given how cunning those demonic cultivators were, without Jiang Qingshuan's spirit eye of insight, it would probably be quite difficult for them to find and kill them all. Even if they could do it in the end, the time and energy they would need to spend in this process would probably be a considerable number. Therefore, Shen Daoming continued, if there is no objection, according to the rules of my Shen immortal family, 40% of the spoils will be given to Elder Jiang. Moreover, he will be the first to choose these things. I have no objections. Shen Ruyan was the first to speak. I have no objections either. Xiong Wandao echoed. Su Qianhe and Su Changnian looked at each other before saying, we also have no objections. Hearing this, Shen Daoming immediately smiled at Jiang Qingxian and made an inviting gesture. Elder Jiang, please. Jiang Qingxian did not stand on ceremony. When he heard this, he picked up the storage bags and checked them seriously. It had to be said that there was no lack of good stuff in these storage bags. There were more than 18,000 spirit stones in total. According to the distribution ratio, he could easily take 7,200 spirit stones. Including what he had, at this moment, Jiang Qingxian had almost 12,000 spirit stones. This was definitely a huge sum of money for a cultivator at the 2nd level of the Foundation Establishment realm. Any Foundation Establishment cultivator would probably be envious. Then, there were some precious materials, medicinal pills, Dharma artifacts, and many evil things that could only be used by demonic cultivators. Whether it was Jiang Qingxian or anyone else present, they would clearly not touch those evil things that only demonic cultivators would use. In the end, these things would be destroyed. Jiang Qingxian rummaged through the storage bags and quickly took out a large pile of materials. Most of them were things he could use to make talismans later. Most importantly, what surprised him the most was that among these materials, he actually obtained 2 extreme yellow jade and 3 bottles of heavenly spiritual dew. He had spent a long time searching for these 2 materials with no success, but he did not expect to find so many here. This was really a windfall. Jiang Qingxian took away the materials and a level 2 invisibility disc before stopping. Then, Shen Daoming began to distribute the remaining things to the others present. After the spoils were distributed, Shen Daoming discussed some matters with everyone before they left the main hall. Elder Jiang, are you planning to return to your cave abode directly? As soon as they left the main peak, Jiang Qingxian heard Shen Ruyan's voice. He smiled and shook his head. I plan to exchange and buy some things first. What about you, Elder Ruyan? It had to be known that he obtained a lot of family contribution points from killing those demonic cultivators and helping everyone track the demonic cultivators down. In addition, he currently had 12,000 spirit stones to spend to increase his strength just so that he could be well equipped for the upcoming Demon Beast Riot. Moreover, no one could guarantee that the Demon Beast Riot would not be brought forward. If he could not convert the resources in his hands to actual strength before the Demon Beast Riot broke out, it would be a waste. When Shen Ruyan heard his words, she replied with a smile, what a coincidence. I also plan to exchange and buy some things. Elder Jiang, if you don't mind, let's go together. All right. Soon, the two of them went to the Sutra Depository and the family treasury vault. In the Sutra Depository, Jiang Qingxian used his family contribution points to exchange for 2 mid-grade level 2 spells. One was the Sea Burning Flame Explosion, a fire element area effect spell. The other was the Tortoiseshell Earth Spirit Technique, an earth element defensive spell. Because both of them belonged to the 5 elements, as long as Jiang Qingxian could successfully cultivate them, with his aptitude, he could increase the power of these 2 spells by 1 to 2 times. Then, Jiang Qingxian went to the family treasury vault with Shen Ruyan to exchange for a mid-grade level 2 defensive Dharma artifact. Chapter 45. 45, Third Level of the Foundation Establishment Realm. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 45. Third Level of the Foundation Establishment Realm. Translator. Henyi Translations Editor. Henyi Translations. This Dharma artifact was called the Greenwood Heavenly Light Shield. It was refined from level 2 precious materials, the armored wood crystal and the true wood jade. It contained many defensive array runes. When being attacked, this shield would automatically release a layer of green light. It could be used to block the attack from one angle or from all angles. However, when using this shield to defend from all angles, its defense would be greatly weakened. Even so, it was still a rare defensive Dharma artifact. Compared to Jiang Qingshuan's purple gold spirit shield, it was countless times stronger. After that, Jiang Qingxian spent another 3,500 spirit stones to buy a mid-grade level 2 Dharma artifact called the Shadow-Splitting Light Blade. The main function of this Dharma artifact was to sneak attack. It was particularly useful in breaking protective spells and had an extremely powerful stealth ability. It was very difficult for the enemy to detect it. In the end, Jiang Qingxian spent thousands of spirit stones to buy a large pile of talisman-making materials. Coupled with the talisman-making materials he had obtained from the storage bags of many demonic cultivators, they were already enough for him to make nearly 100 low-grade level 2 talismans. Or even more. At that time, even if he could not defeat his opponent in terms of strength, he could use these talismans to take down the opponent. When Jiang Qingxian had exchanged what he wanted, he stopped lingering outside. After bidding farewell to Shen Ruyan, he returned to his cave abode. He took out the level 2 invisibility disc he had obtained from the spoils from his storage bag. After Jiang Qingxian refined it, he placed it outside his cave abode. After doing this, Jiang Qingxian began to think about what he was going to do next. The first was naturally cultivation. With the bottle of earth essence pills that Shen Mengxue had given him previously, it should not be a problem for Jiang Qingxian to raise his cultivation to the 3rd level of the Foundation Establishment Realm. The only thing he needed to consider was whether he could break through to the 4th level of the Foundation Establishment Realm, which was also called the mid-stage, before the demon beast riot broke out. Next was to refine the Dharma artifacts he had obtained. The most important one was the high-grade level 2 flying sword that the Shen family's ancestor, Shen Yuanlong, had given him. It was called the Void Dragon Sword with the element of metal. There was a pattern of a flood dragon engraved on it. Its strength was its speed and sharpness. It could cut through all tangible and intangible things in an instant. As of now, it was considered Jiang Qingshuan's greatest trump card. Once it was taken out, even cultivators at the 9th level of the Foundation Establishment Realm would be awed. Then, it was the Greenwood Heavenly Light Shield and the Shadow Light Splitting Blade. The former was his protective item and was very important. The latter could assist him in time of dire need during a tough battle, which was also quite important. Apart from refining these 3 level 2 Dharma artifacts, Jiang Qingxian also needed to cultivate the 2 level 2 spells he had exchanged from the Shen Immortal family's Sutra Depository. One was the Sea Burning Flame Explosion, and the other was the Tortoiseshell Earth Spirit Shield. They were all things that could strengthen his foundation. And lastly, he needed to make level 2 talismans. Needless to say, the first one to make was the golden armored puppet talisman rewarded by the system. With the 3 extreme yellow jades and 4 bottles of heavenly spiritual dew in his hands, Jiang Qingxian could almost make 3 golden armor puppet talismans. 3 golden armor puppet talismans meant 3 foundation establishment realm cultivators. Although the puppet could only last for 10 minutes, if it was used well, it would definitely be a rather powerful trump card. And that was because at the critical moment, the puppet could self-destruct. If the opponent was not prepared, even a mid-stage foundation establishment realm cultivator might be seriously injured or even die. In addition to making this golden armored puppet talisman, Jiang Qingxian also wanted to try making mid-grade level 2 talismans. Among them, the most useful was a talisman called the Binding Talisman. It could bind the enemy and temporarily immobilize them. If it was used well, it could definitely catch the opponent off guard. However, if he wanted to make such a talisman, Jiang Qingxian had to raise his talisman-making cultivation to the mid-grade level 2. All in all, Jiang Qingxian had a lot to do next. Jiang Qingxian estimated that it would take at least 8 to 10 years to complete all the things above. On the other side, Shen Daoming was summoned to Huawu Peak again by ancestor Shen Yuanlong. At this moment, Shen Yuanlong was sitting at a stone table. When he saw Shen Daoming coming over, he immediately nodded at him. I already know what happened. I called you over this time to ask you something. What do you think about betrothing your sister, Shen Rian, to Jiang Qingxian? What? Hearing his ancestor's words, Shen Daoming was shocked. He did not expect his ancestor to call him here to tell him about this. Why? Is there a problem? Ancestor, isn't this decision too abrupt? After a pause, Shen Daoming hurriedly continued, also, I have a question. You and ancestor Mengxue seem to value Elder Jiang very much. Can you tell me why? However, Shen Yuanlong shook his head. It's a heavenly secret. Ancestor Mengxue has already lost a lot of her lifespan to peek at the secret. If I tell you, she will probably suffer a second blow. At this point, Shen Yuanlong couldn't help but look at Shen Daoming and say, I think with your understanding of Elder Jiang, it shouldn't be difficult for you to guess why. These words made Shen Daoming's heart skip a beat. He found it unbelievable, but he knew very well that his 2 ancestors would never joke about such a thing. He immediately nodded and said, Ancestor, I have no objections to this matter. I just don't know if my sister and Elder Jiang will agree to it. You don't have to worry about that. A smile appeared on Shen Yuanlong's face. At that time, you just have to bring them to me. Time passed. In the blink of an eye, it was already 3 years later. At this moment, a surging aura suddenly rose in Jiang Qingxuan's cave abode. Jiang Qingxian, who was sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed, opened his eyes and smiled. He had finally reached the 3rd level of the foundation establishment realm. After more than 3 years of continuous cultivation, coupled with the bottle of earth essence pills that Shen Mengxue had given him, Jiang Qingxian finally broke through from the 2nd level of the foundation establishment realm to the 3rd level. Chapter 46. 46. Completing the drawings of 100 level 2 talismans. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 46. Completing the drawings of 100 level 2 talismans. Translator. Henyi Translations Editor. Henyi Translations. At this moment, the total true essence in Jiang Qingxuan's body had increased by more than 30% compared to before. It was almost comparable to that of a 5th level foundation establishment realm cultivator. It might even be more. Most importantly, after breaking through to the 3rd level of the foundation establishment realm, be it refining Dharma artifacts or making talismans, there was a significant increase in speed and success rate. In less than 3 months, Jiang Qingxian successfully refined the 2 mid-grade level 2 Dharma artifacts, the Greenwood Heavenly Light Shield and the Shadow Splitting Light Blade. Then, he spent more than half a year successfully refining the high-grade level 2 Dharma artifact that Shen Yuanlong had given him, the Void Dragon Sword. In addition to the purple flame sword and purple gold spirit shield that he had, Jiang Qingxian had a total of 5 Dharma artifacts that could be used to fight and defend against enemies. Among them, the purple flame sword and the greenwood heavenly shield were mid-grade level 2 Dharma artifacts. The Void Dragon Sword was a high-grade level 2 Dharma artifact that could be used as his trump card when he was on the losing side. After doing all this, Jiang Qingxian began to cultivate the 2 mid-grade level 2 spells, the Sea-Burning Flame Explosion and the Tortoiseshell Earth Spirit Shield. Perhaps it was because he had the Yin-Yang 5-element spiritual root, but when he cultivated the 2 spells, it was actually smooth sailing. In 2 years, Jiang Qingxian had cultivated these 2 mid-grade level 2 spells to the early stage. With these 2 early stage spells, Jiang Qingxian was enough to pose a huge threat to mid-stage Foundation Establishment realm cultivators. After that, he spent another year and a half cultivating the Breeze Sword technique rewarded by the system to the late stage. Although he had not tested the strength of the late stage Breeze Sword technique, based on the power of the early stage Breeze Sword technique, it was definitely not a problem to threaten a cultivator at the 6th level of the Foundation Establishment realm. After it was done, Jiang Qingxian finally focused on drawing level 2 talismans. However, he did not draw the golden armored puppet talisman immediately. Instead, he found a few relatively simple low-grade level 2 talismans to draw to warm up. For example, the Wood Rejuvenation Talisman, the Giant Fire Snake Talisman, the Nirvana Water Ice Sword Talisman, and so on. They were all relatively simple and easy to master among low-grade level 2 talismans. However, perhaps because he had mastered the ability to draw difficult talismans like the Golden Armored Puppet Talisman, when he began to draw talismans like the Wood Rejuvenation Talisman, it was surprisingly smooth. Without failure, he drew many in a row. Even the time he spent was not as much as he had imagined. In this way, Jiang Qingxian finally confirmed that his talisman-making mastery had probably reached the peak of low-grade level 2. As long as he took another step forward, he could break through to the mid-grade level 2. Without any hesitation, Jiang Qingxian immediately took out the extreme yellow jade, the heavenly spiritual dew, and some other supplementary materials to draw the golden armor puppet talisman. Half a year later, when Jiang Qingxian drew the last stroke on the extreme yellow jade with the heavenly spiritual dew, the entire jade immediately lit up with a dazzling light. The originally yellow jade now had many extremely complicated patterns on its surface. If cultivators below the Foundation Establishment realm used their divine sense to decipher the patterns, they would probably suffer a blow to their soul. Possibly, they would also be injured physically. Is this the golden armored puppet talisman that the system rewarded me with? Jiang Qingxian held the golden armored puppet talisman up and sensed the difference between it and the other talismans. He could not help but be stunned. The things rewarded by the system were indeed different. Its value could no longer be measured by grades. He did not doubt at all that once the method to make this golden armor puppet talisman was sold at the trade fair, it would definitely cause the various Foundation Establishment families to compete for it crazily. Even a Violet Palace realm immortal family like the Shen immortal family would be very tempted. As Jiang Qingxian thought, he continued to make the second golden armor puppet talisman. Having succeeded once, Jiang Qingxian was clearly faster at making the second golden armored puppet talisman. This time, he only spent 5 months to successfully make the second golden armored puppet talisman. By the time he made the golden armored puppet talisman for the 3rd time, his speed had noticeably increased. This time, he only used 4.5 months to successfully draw the 3rd golden armored puppet talisman. Hence, he already had 3 golden armored puppet talismans. Next, he only needed to find another extreme yellow jade. Coupled with the additional bottle of heavenly spiritual dew in his hand, he should be able to make the 4th golden armor puppet talisman. However, He did not know if the value of the extreme yellow jade and heavenly spiritual dew, the main materials used to make this golden armor puppet talisman, would soar after people found out that they could be used to make the golden armor puppet talisman. Another 2 years passed. There were already 50 to 60 low-grade level 2 talismans in Jiang Qingshuan's hand. It included offensive, defensive, detoxifying, healing, and bewitching talismans. However, what made him slightly frustrated was that during this period of time, he had tried to draw mid-grade level 2 talismans many times, but all of them failed. Later on, he realized that the thing that restricted him from successfully drawing a mid-grade level 2 talisman was probably not his current talisman-making mastery, but the talisman brush in his hand. Using an ordinary low-grade level 2 talisman brush to draw a mid-grade level 2 talisman was undoubtedly challenging. After failing to draw another mid-grade level 2 talisman, Jiang Qingxian finally put down the talisman brush in his hand. It seemed that he had to buy a mid-grade level 2 talisman brush. Just as this thought flashed through his mind, the system's voice suddenly sounded. Ding! Congratulations, host. You have completed 100 drawings of level 2 talisman. You have received talent +1. What? Jiang Qingxian was surprised to hear this voice. What was going on? He didn't remember the system giving him a mission before. If he could obtain the system's reward just by doing something 100 times, then wouldn't he also receive a reward by eating 100 times and sleeping 100 times? Could it be that this was related to the mission given by the system previously to draw 30 level 2 talismans? With this mission as a prerequisite, when he accidentally drew talismans 100 times, he unlocked the hidden mission. No matter how he thought about it, this seemed to be the only possibility. Chapter 47. 47. Advancing to Level 2 Mid-Grade Talisman Master. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 47. Advancing to Level 2 Mid-Grade Talisman Master. Translator. Henyi Translations Editor. Henyi Translations. Then, Jiang Qingshuan felt that something had changed in his body. However, when he carefully sensed that change, it seemed to have disappeared. When he looked at the failed talismans in front of him, he immediately noticed the mistakes he had made. He could completely avoid these mistakes and minimize the possibility of failure. Even what stumped him previously seemed to have cleared up at this moment. He felt that he wouldn't fail again. At the thought of this, Jiang Qingshuan immediately realized that this was the change brought about by the additional talisman-making talent rewarded by the system. That must be it. Otherwise, it was impossible for him to have such a deep comprehension of talisman making in such a short period of time. Thinking of this, Jiang Qingshuan immediately picked up the talisman brush again and began to draw a mid-grade level 2 talisman called the Wood Vitality Talisman. The main use of this talisman was to restore the vitality of level 1 or level 2 spiritual plants. It was commonly used in large families and cultivation sections. He had tried to draw this talisman a few times before. But without exception, they all failed in the end. He did not know if he could successfully draw the Wood Vitality Talisman with this low-grade level 2 talisman brush. Soon, wisps of spiritual light began to gather at the tip of the brush in Jiang Qingshuan's hand. Then, complicated and mysterious runes began to appear on the talisman paper in front of him. A month later, when the talisman brush in Jiang Qingshuan's hand finished the last stroke, he had successfully drawn the level 2 mid-grade Wood Vitality Talisman. A look of joy appeared on Jiang Qingshuan's face. He really succeeded in drawing a level 2 mid-grade talisman. Moreover, he used a low-grade level 2 talisman brush. He picked up the Wood Vitality Talisman that he had just drawn and examined it carefully. He realized that the quality of this talisman was quite good. It was almost comparable to the work of a veteran mid-grade level 2 talisman master. It seems that after this, I should think of a way to get the second part of the level 2 talisman book. After all, the number of mid-grade level 2 talismans recorded in the first part of the level 2 talisman book is very limited. Moreover, most of them are support-type talismans. There are only a few talismans that can be used in battle. Thinking of this, Jiang Chexuan couldn't help but place his attention on the binding talisman. It was the most useful offensive talisman in the first part of the level 2 talisman book. 2 years later. Outside Jiang Chexuan's cave abode. Suddenly, 2 streaks of light descended. They were the current head of the Shen immortal family, Shen Daoming, and his sister, Shen Rian. At this moment, after 12 years of seclusion, Shen Rian's cultivation had clearly improved greatly. She successfully broke through to the 6th level of the Foundation Establishment realm from the 4th level. Even her brother, Shen Daoming, who knew her best, could not help but be shocked when he saw this speed with his own eyes. It had to be noted that after Foundation Establishment cultivators broke through to the mid-stage of the Foundation Establishment realm, which was the 4th level, under normal circumstances, it would take them something like 8 to 15 years to break through to another level. It was very common for some people with poor aptitude to be stuck at the mid-stage forever and never advance in their lives. Surprisingly, in the past 12 years, his sister, Shen Rian, had actually advanced 2 levels. At this moment, Shen Daoming looked at the cave abode wrapped in layers of array formations and restrictions and said, "I didn't expect Elder Jiang to stay in seclusion for such a long time like you. I wonder when he will come out." Shen Rian did not answer Shen Daoming. Instead, she looked at Jiang Chexuan's cave abode and said calmly, "Brother, are you really not going to tell me why Ancestor asked me to go to see him with Elder Jiang?" An awkward expression appeared on Shen Daoming's face. "I told you. When you and Elder Jiang see Ancestor, you'll naturally know. Don't make things difficult for me." He really did not know how to put it. Also, he felt that Shen Rian seemed to have changed a lot after coming out of seclusion this time. Vaguely, it gave him an inexplicable pressure. He felt as if facing Shen Rian was like facing the Ancestor, Shen Yuanlong. In fact, the pressure she gave him might even be greater. This feeling was very inexplicable, and it also made Shen Daoming very puzzled. He did not understand what the change on his sister was about. Just as he was wondering if he should ask, Shen Rian suddenly spoke. "He's out." As soon as she finished speaking, a thick fog suddenly rolled in. Immediately after, the thick fog slowly dispersed, revealing a cave abode. Jiang Chexuan stood at the entrance of the cave abode and cupped his fists at the 2 of them with a smile. "Family head Shen, Elder Rian, long time no see." When they saw Jiang Chexuan, Shen Daoming and Shen Rian immediately cupped their fists in return. Jiang Chexuan said, "Since the 2 of you are here, why don't you come in and have a seat?" Just as Shen Daoming was about to explain the reason for his coming, Shen Rian, who was beside him, beat him to it. She smiled and nodded at Jiang Chexuan. "I'd like that." With that, she strode into Jiang Chexuan's cave abode. Shen Daoming was speechless. He had no choice but to follow suit. As soon as they entered Jiang Chexuan's cave abode, Shen Daoming and Shen Rian felt the dense spiritual qi here. Looking up, the 2 of them saw several mid-grade level 2 spirit gathering talismans placed in the cave abode. A trace of surprise flashed across Shen Daoming's eyes as he subconsciously said, "Elder Jiang, did you buy these mid-grade level 2 spirit gathering talismans?" This was because according to Shen Daoming's knowledge, there were not many spirit gathering talismans above level 2 in the Shen immortal family because most of them were placed on the various peaks to gather spiritual qi. Not really. At this moment, Jiang Chexuan had already made spiritual tea for Shen Daoming and Shen Rian. After gesturing to the 2 of them to drink the tea, he smiled and replied, "I drew these level 2 spirit gathering talismans not long ago." Pfft. Hearing that, Shen Daoming, who had just taken a sip of spiritual tea, spat it out. He looked at Jiang Chexuan in shock and asked, "Elder Jiang, did you just say that you drew these mid-grade level 2 spirit gathering talismans yourself?" Chapter 48. 48. Revisiting the Hua Wu Peak. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 48. Revisiting the Hua Wu Peak Translator. Henyi Translations Editor. Henyi Translations. If you remembered correctly, when Jiang Qingxian first joined the Shen Immortal family, he was only a high-grade level 1 talisman master, right? Only a dozen years had passed and he was already able to draw mid-grade level 2 spirit gathering talisman. Wait, his cultivation. Shen Daoming had not paid much attention to it just now. At this moment, he looked at Jiang Qingxian and suddenly sensed the change in his cultivation. He had clearly broken through to the third level of the Foundation Establishment realm. In less than 20 years, not only did Jiang Qingxian break through to the third level of the Foundation Establishment realm, but he also raised his talisman. Making mastery to the mid-grade level 2. This speed. Shen Daoming did not know what to say. At the side, Shen Rian's beautiful eyes also lit up. She looked at Jiang Qingxian and said, "Elder Jiang, in that case, you're already a mid-grade level 2 talisman master." Yeah. There was no point in keeping it a secret. Jiang Qingxian smiled and nodded. Speaking of which, I have to thank Elder Rian for giving me the level 2 talisman book back then. If not for it, my talisman. Making mastery would not have increased so quickly. Elder Jiang, you're too humble. Shen Rian smiled. She suddenly turned to look at Shen Daoming beside her and said, "Brother, now that Elder Jiang has already become a mid-grade level 2 talisman master, can we give him the second part of the level 2 talisman book as a congratulatory gift later?" Shen Daoming clearly did not expect Shen Rian to suddenly say this. He pondered for a moment and nodded. Sure. With that, Shen Daoming looked at Jiang Qingxian and said, "Elder Jiang, what level 2 talismans can you make now?" Basically, everything in the first part of the level 2 talisman book. Jiang Qingxian smiled and said, "These are the level 2 talismans I've made recently. You can take a look. If you need it, feel free to take it." As he spoke, Jiang Qingxian took out more than 10 talismans. Among them were low or mid-grade level 2 talismans such as the Wood Rejuvenation Talisman, the Wood Vitality Talisman, the Giant Fire Snake Talisman, the Binding Talisman, the Big Dipper Teleportation Talisman, and the Spirit Gathering Talisman. This made Shen Daoming and Shen Rian's eyes light up. These were all useful talismans. Shen Rian did not stand on ceremony with Jiang Qingxian. She casually picked up 2 talismans. It was the Binding Talisman and the Big Dipper Teleportation Talisman. The former was a mid-grade level 2 control-type talisman, while the latter was a mid-grade level 2 talisman for escape and teleportation. They were all considered high-value and practical talismans. On the other hand, Shen Daoming was a little hesitant. Needless to say, the talismans Jiang Qingxian took out were quite useful even to the Violet Palace realm immortal family of their size. However, compared to these talismans, he valued Jiang Qingxian more. The importance and status of a third-level Foundation Establishment realm cultivator who could draw mid-grade level 2 talismans was clearly different from an ordinary third-level Foundation Establishment realm cultivator. Shen Rian seemed to have noticed that her brother was hesitating. Seeing this, she couldn't help but suggest with a smile, "If you think it's not good to take away these talismans from Elder Jiang just like that, you can convert them into corresponding family contribution points to Elder Jiang." Shen Daoming thought for a moment and looked at Jiang Qingxian. "Elder Jiang, I wonder how many more of these talismans you have, especially the Wood Vitality Talisman and the level 2 Spirit Gathering Talisman. If there are any, I want to buy it from you with family contribution points of 1,500 to 2,500 each. What do you think?" "No problem." Jiang Qingxian naturally wouldn't reject Shen Daoming, nor would he be stupid enough to say that he didn't need the family contribution points. He handed all the Wood Vitality Talismans and level 2 Spirit Gathering Talismans to Shen Daoming. There were about 7 or 8 of them in total. In exchange, Shen Daoming gave Jiang Qingxian 15,000 family contribution points. After that, Shen Daoming also made a request, hoping that Jiang Qingxian could draw more such talismans when he had time in the future. As for the materials, he could take them from the family treasury vault with his elder token at any time. Jiang Qingxian did not refuse. However, he had also made it clear that he would only draw these talismans when he had time. After all, he had a lot of things to do now. Especially cultivation. It was impossible for him to delay his own matters just to help the Shen immortal family. Shen Daoming naturally knew this very well. As a cultivator, no matter when, increasing his cultivation and strength was always the priority. After that, the three of them chatted for a while before Shen Daoming told Jiang Qingxian the reason for his coming. It was naturally to invite Jiang Qingxian to Huawu Peak. This surprised Jiang Qingxian. He never thought that more than 10 years later, he would revisit Huawu Peak. Moreover, just like last time, he was invited by the Shen family's ancestor, Shen Yuanlong. He just did not know what would happen when he went to Huawu Peak to see Shen Yuanlong this time. The three of them did not waste any more time. Soon, they left the cave abode together and turned into a streak of light, heading towards Huawu Peak. At Huawu Peak. When Jiang Qingxian and the other two arrived, Shen Yuanlong was already waiting for them at the peak. Jiang Qingxian and the other two immediately bowed to Shen Yuanlong. "Greetings, ancestor." Shen Yuanlong smiled and waved his hand. "There's no need for formality. Take a seat first." As he spoke, he waved his hand and summoned a stone table and stone stools. Then, with a wave of his hand, the steaming spiritual tea landed steadily on the table. "This is the level 3 spirit awakening tea that I received from your ancestor Mengsik. Try it." Chapter 49. 49, Becoming Tao Companions. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 49. Becoming Tao Companions. Translator. Henyi Translations Editor. Henyi Translations Level 3 Spiritual Awakening Tea. Jiang Qingxian and Shen Daoming were obviously shocked. It was said that Level 2 Spirit Awakening Tea had the effect of cleansing the impurities in a cultivator's soul. They really did not know how extraordinary this Level 3 Spirit Awakening Tea would be. Compared to Jiang Qingxian and Shen Daoming's strong reaction, Shen Ruyan was comparably calmer. She gently picked up the teacup in front of her and took a sip before nodding. She didn't say anything. However, when Jiang Qingxian and Shen Daoming picked up their teacups and took a sip, they immediately felt an extremely cool air entering their body, cleansing their minds. When they finished the cup of spirit awakening tea, they exhaled grayish-brown breaths. Those were some impurities. "It's really good tea." Shen Daoming could not help but praise. Jiang Qingxian nodded in agreement. On the other hand, Shen Ruyan still didn't say anything. At this moment, Shen Yuanlong's gaze landed on Jiang Qingxian and Shen Ruyan. He smiled and said, "It's been more than 10 years since we last met. It seems that your cultivation and strength have improved a lot." After a pause, Shen Yuanlong continued, "Actually, I asked Daoming to call you over this time to ask you if the two of you have any thoughts of becoming Tao companions." Hearing Shen Yuanlong's words, Jiang Qingxian and Shen Ruyan could not help but look stunned. The two of them clearly did not expect Shen Yuanlong to call them over for this. Subconsciously, Jiang Qingxian and Shen Ruyan looked at each other. At this moment, an inexplicable emotion emerged in their hearts. After a while, Shen Ruyan smiled. She looked at Shen Yuanlong and nodded. "It's my honor to be Elder Zhang's Tao companion." "Good." Shen Yuanlong immediately smiled and turned to look at Jiang Qingxian. Jiang Qingxian was filled with questions after interacting with Shen Ruyan for so many years. Jiang Qingxian indeed had some feelings towards her. He also believed that if their relationship continued, they would probably get together sooner or later. However, Shen Yuanlong had brought all of this forward. Of course, what surprised him the most was Shen Ruyan's attitude towards him. Jiang Qingxian turned to look at Shen Ruyan and smiled. Then, he turned to look at Shen Yuanlong and said, "Ancestor, I'd like to become Elder Ruyan's Tao companion." Good, good, good. Hearing Jiang Qingshuan's answer, Shen Yuanlong was obviously very happy. He took out 2 storage rings and handed them to Jiang Qingxian and Shen Ruyan. Qingxian, Ruyan, take the storage ring as a gift from me. There are some treasures I left inside for you. I hope you can cultivate diligently and explore the way of the Tao together. Shen Daoming, who was at the side, was a little surprised. He did not expect the ancestor to give them 2 storage rings. It had to be noted that among the many storage Dharma artifacts, storage bags were the most common and ordinary. They weren't capable of recognizing their masters. You could only leave some restrictions on it to prevent people from opening it. However, ordinary cultivators only needed to spend some time cracking it open. On the other hand, the storage ring was different. Not only was its internal space much larger than the storage bag, but it also had the ability to recognize its master. Unless its master was dead or a high-level cultivator used his magic power to forcefully break the restriction, ordinary people would not be able to open the storage ring even if they obtained it. Moreover, inside the 2 storage rings, there were treasures Shen Yuanlong had prepared for Jiang Qingxian and Shen Ruyan. Jiang Qingxian and Shen Ruyan did not turn it down. After thanking Shen Yuanlong, they reached out and took the storage ring. A while later, Jiang Qingxian, Shen Ruyan, and Shen Daoming left Huawu Peak. On the way back, Shen Daoming smiled and said to the 2 of them, "I'll tell the family about you 2 becoming Tao companions later. In addition, if you have nothing else to do now, follow me to the Shen family's ancestral hall." Many years ago, Shen Ruyan and Shen Daoming's parents passed away. Shen Daoming asked the 2 of them to go to the Shen family's ancestral hall to pay respects to their deceased parents and tell them about this good news. Cultivators didn't have complicated formalities like mortals when they became Tao companions. Unless there was a special need, such as a marriage between the 2 families. Jiang Qingxian and Shen Ruyan were not the kind of people who liked to be high-profile. Therefore, they skipped all the unnecessary procedures. When the 2 of them heard Shen Daoming, they looked at each other and nodded. Soon, the 3 of them arrived at the ancestral hall of the Shen immortal family under Shen Daoming's lead. They walked all the way into the ancestral hall before arriving at a row of memorial tablets. Shen Daoming pointed at 2 of the memorial tablets and said to Jiang Qingxian, "Brother-in-law, these are Ruyan and my parents. Offer incense to them." As he spoke, Shen Daoming brought over 6 incense sticks. He handed 3 to Jiang Qingxian and Shen Ruyan. Jiang Qingxian and Shen Ruyan took it. Then, the 2 of them lit the 3 incense sticks in their hands and bowed to the 2 memorial tablets in front of them. Shen Daoming, who was beside them, said to the 2 memorial tablets with emotions, "Father, Mother, you were always worried that Ruyan wouldn't be able to find a Tao companion she likes because her personality was too out of place in the cultivation world. Do you see it now? Ruyan has changed a lot. Now, she even found a Tao companion. It's the person beside her, Jiang Qingxian. He is a guest elder of the Shen family and a level 2 talisman master. Of course, now that he's Ruyan's Tao companion, he's a member of our Shen immortal family." Chapter 50. 50. Urgent Summoning. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 50. Urgent Summoning. Translator. Henyi Translations Editor. Henyi Translations. After saying that, Shen Daoming turned to look at the 2 of them. At the same time, the 2 of them had finished paying their respects. Then, Shen Daoming handed the other 6 incense sticks to the 2 of them. This time, they were going to pay respects to the ancestors of the Shen immortal family. After they finished paying their respects, the 3 of them left the ancestral hall. Outside, Shen Daoming looked at the 2 of them and said, "Let's find a time to call the elders of the family over for a gathering. By the way, Ruyan and Qingxian, if you have any friends you want to invite, you can ask them to come over." Jiang Qingxian and Shen Ruyan had no objections to this arrangement. Next was the problem of the cave abode where the 2 of them lived. Are you planning to choose a new cave abode, or do you want to move to Qingshuan's place, or do you want to move to Rian's place? Hearing Shen Daoming's question, Shen Rian immediately smiled and said, of course I'll move to my husband's place. How can I let him move to my cave abode? Hearing how Shen Rian called Jiang Qingxian, Shen Daoming had mixed feelings. As the saying went, an elder brother was like a father. At this moment, he felt like an old father seeing his daughter get married. He nodded. That's up to you. Just let me know when you made up your mind. After that, Jiang Qingxian and Shen Rian did not stay any longer. After bidding farewell, the two of them flew towards Jiang Qingshuan's cave abode. A few days later, after Jiang Qingxian and Shen Rian sent the last guest, Xiong Wandao, off, they were officially considered Dao companions. Looking at the festive decorations around the cave abode, the two of them could not help but smile at each other. Shen Rian said, husband, life is long and the journey will be a bumpy one, but I hope we can't stay together until the end. Jiang Qingxian reached out and hugged Shen Rian's slender waist, pulling her towards him and planting a kiss on her forehead. Although there were no words, it was better than thousands of words. A few months later, Jiang Qingxian could not help but be shocked and he sensed the commotion in the cultivation room where Shen Rian was in seclusion. This aura, Rian is. Creak. Just as this thought flashed through his mind, the door of the cultivation room opened. Shen Rian, whose eyes were flickering with blue lightning, appeared in front of Jiang Qingxian. Rian, did you break through to the late-stage foundation establishment realm? I understand. Shen Rian smiled and nodded at Jiang Qingxian. Jiang Qingxian immediately let out a gasp of surprise. If he remembered correctly, it hadn't been long since she broke through to the 6th level of the foundation establishment realm, right? Now again, she successfully broke through to the 7th level of the foundation establishment realm, which was the late stage. This was not right. How could anyone break through in such a short period of time? Even he and those cultivators with heavenly spiritual root could not do it. Unless she had obtained a natural spiritual object that could increase her cultivation. However, this was unlikely. Husband. At this moment, Shen Rian approached Jiang Qingxian and looked into his eyes. You're my husband and my cultivation companion, so I won't hide things from you, nor am I willing to. I can hide my current cultivation from others, even from my brother, but I definitely won't hide it from you. Buzz. As soon as she finished speaking, Jiang Qingxian was shocked to see that Shen Rian, who was at the 7th level of the foundation establishment realm, had returned to the 6th level in the blink of an eye. Furthermore, even with his spirit eye of insight, he could not tell that her actual level was at the 7th. If he hadn't seen it for himself that she had indeed broken through to the 7th level of the foundation establishment realm, Jiang Qingxian would have suspected that he was hallucinating. How could a foundation establishment cultivator possess such a superb technique to hide her cultivation level? Rian, are you? I understand. Shen Rian nodded with a smile. That's right. I've indeed hidden my cultivation. After a pause, Shen Rian continued, I'm doing this to tell you that since we're already Dao companions, I won't hide anything from you, let alone lie to you. Even if it's a white lie, I won't. However, there are some things that I really can't tell you now, or explain in too much detail. That's because it will only be bad for you. Can you understand me? I understand. Jiang Qingxian was not a fool. He knew that his Dao companion had many secrets. And they were secrets of the shocking kind. But the fact that she was so honest with him explained a lot. Jiang Qingxian could actually relate to her because he was not ready to tell her the secret of the system either. Since it was not convenient for them to reveal the secret for the time being, they just had to respect each other. As long as they put the matter on the table and understood and respected each other, there would be no problem. Buzz. At this moment, Jiang Qingxian and Shen Rian's communication jade talismans suddenly lit up at the same time. Then, a message appeared in their minds. Come to the meeting hall of the main peak at once. After hearing this message, Jiang Qingxian and Shen Ruiyan immediately looked at each other. Judging from the serious tone, it must be something important. The couple did not delay and flew straight towards the meeting hall of the main peak of splendid Jade Mountain. A moment later, Jiang Qingxian and Shen Ruiyan descended into the meeting hall. At this moment, Shen Daoming and all the foundation establishment elders had already gathered. What surprised them the most was that their ancestor, Shen Yuanlong, was also present. The two of them immediately bowed to Shen Yuanlong. Shen Yuanlong nodded at them with a smile. "Have a seat." When Jiang Qingxian and Shen Ruiyan sat down, Shen Yuanlong said, "I just received news from the Ganyang sect that there's a high chance that the demon beast riot, which is thought to take place in 10 years, will come early." "What?" When they suddenly heard the news from Shen Yuanlong, all the Shen family elders present were shocked. "Why is it brought forward again? Is the agreement between the high-level human cultivators and those demon beasts non-existent?" Shen Changnian, who was next to Shen Yuanlong in terms of seniority, was so angry that he shouted.